article appearing in the daily newspaper under the heading, St. Eustatius Deposed Coalition Files a Court Case Against the Dutch Government. And my article entitled, Will Justice Prevail? A petition was filed at the Court of First Instance to initiate main proceedings against the government of the Netherlands. The article states that the first hearing is scheduled for October 23, 2018. I can conclude there will be other court hearings. Their main focus, in the station that is Article 73 of the United Nations Charter, which reads, members of the United Nations which have or assume responsibilities for the administration of territories whose peoples have not yet attained a full measure of self-government, recognize the principle that the interests of the inhabitants of these territories are paramount. My question, has the Dutch government acted in accordance with this law or treaty as it regards to the interests of the inhabitants of St. Eustatius by removing a democratically elected government? The Article 73 continues, to ensure with due respect for culture and for peoples concerned, their political, economic, social, and educational advancement, their treatment, and their protection against abuses. My question is, were the people of St. Eustatius protected by the actions of the Dutch government? The fact that the Dutch government out of thin air, or as the Dutch saying goes, de duimzuigen, create a law called, listen to this, temporary law task neglect, and impose it immediately on the island of St. Eustatius, in my opinion, is a blatant display of abuse of power. Here's my question. Will justice prevail? You know, the Dutch are signatories. They are signatories to the United Nations Charter, and Article 1.2 of the Charter reads, to develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principles of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. Is the Dutch government complying with this law? You know, Dutch politicians all too often reminded us that we are not equal. So the question to ask is the following. Are the Dutch violating the United Nations Charter by the actions towards the stations and by extension the other islands in the kingdom? You know, a motion was passed on October the 10th, 2018 in the Dutch Second Chamber by Mr. de Graaf, in which he confirms that there is a democratic deficit or inequality between Holland and the other countries, North countries in the kingdom. His motion reads as follows, and this is freely translated. Considering that the Netherlands deserve or has the same rights as Curaçao, Aruba, and St. Martin, considering that the Netherlands fulfilled her obligations as former colonizers, we are still colonies, I don't know where the word former comes in, of the other countries in the kingdom in an ad hoc manner or careless manner, and pay attention to the following. To request the government to serve the interests of the citizens of the Netherlands by seeing to it that the other countries leave our kingdom. This statement brings to mind the one that was told to former Prime Minister Mr. William Marlin by the Prime Minister Mr. Mark Rutte, who was angry and said to our Prime Minister at the time, because he said, look, the integrity chamber ordinance is not of any importance to us, is not our priority right now. The Prime Minister was angry, and he said to leave his kingdom, to which, of course, our minister at the time said, it is not your kingdom. I look forward to these court hearings. I am very interested as to what the results are going to be. Will it be a matter of interpretation, or will it be the letter of the law? My question, will justice prevail?
George, let me ask you, do you feel as what's happening in St. Eustatius is the same thing that's going to happen in St. Martin as well?
I don't see it, but let me say this. If you look at the actions of the Dutch in the entire Kingdom of the Netherlands, including Bonaire, Saba, and Statia, and Curaçao. If you see at the pressure that's being put on the matters of finance and so on, you realize that they have a particular agenda in mind. And it is not only this region. I mean, if you look at what the Dutch are doing here, what is happening on the French side, what is happening with England and the British former colonial territories and so on, there's a concerted effort to recolonize these islands. There was a politician, I can't remember his name, of Anguilla, who said it one time. He said we were brought here on slave ships. We were scattered among the islands and we were squeezed and pressured. But right now, because of that pressure in our resilience, we have become pearls, and now they want us back. So what is happening right now with regards to their taking over St. Martin, the way they did to Statia, I don't see it. I could be wrong, because don't forget, they're basing things on a referendum, and Statia right to them had a referendum, and they voted to remain within the kingdom. But I'm saying, on St. Martin, there's a parliament, there's a council of ministers, and I would like to see in what manner, in a democratic manner, they would try to do the same thing, or take the same steps as they did in Statia. So I don't see it. I could be wrong. I'm not a legal mind, but at the same time, I await the court cases, because I understood at first the Dutch said they did not know of any court case, and now that was recanted because it was signed sometime in September that they knew about it and so on. They were being summoned to court. So I am going to see, I'm waiting to see what the results are going to be, and I wish in the station more success, because again, we are all in the same boat. We should remember that we are all in the same boat, and we should give Statia as much support as possible. Her victory is also our victory. My issue is, again, as I said, will justice prevail?
You know, for a couple of years now, we've been having a lot of problems with the Dutch. Don't you think sometime now that we should start thinking of going independent?
Let me say this. I mean, that question for me is, the answer is definitely, and you said start thinking. In 1991, I worked at the immigration department. And I can remember a group came down from the Netherlands, or I don't know, Antilles or whatever, but they were Dutch, European Dutch. And what they were doing was, I think they were trying to, change our our computer system. And the whole goal behind this was to be able to stay from the Netherlands, which I believe they're already doing now, and control our immigration movement, which you have now, our border control and so on. That is the agenda. And when it came to when we had a meeting with them at the time, I sat next to a colleague of mine at the time, and I looked at her, I said, look at this. And I took one of those printing papers and a blank sheet, and I wrote on the back, CONTROL. I said, they want to control us. I'm talking 27 years ago. In 1998, I wrote an article entitled The Recolonization of St. Martin. And people said, George is crazy. The Dutch don't want St. Martin. I was told to my face with some other colleagues when we were in the Netherlands about some 3 or 4 years ago, the Prime Minister at the time, Mr. Mark Rutte, he said to us, giving us an excursion in the building, he said, St. Martin is in an ideal location for trade and commerce. So I'm saying independence, definitely. Unfortunately, we are way behind because they have a lot of control on the airport, of law enforcement, and even our finances. And those are the 3 pillars: law enforcement, finance, and administration. Those things are key. And as long as we remain within the kingdom, or within their kingdom, as we've been told more than once, St. Martin, we will find ourselves as people doing the menial jobs and looking up to them as masters of our destiny. So independence, I think we are way behind. There are many persons who are saying, yes, but why should we get independent? Because look who is in government. People, I keep saying, I said it 1,000,000 times already, as an island council member and as a member of parliament, I said, people decide who are in government. And Ricardo, my final answer, which probably might not be related, I was listening to a gentleman, an economist. His name is Noam Chomsky. He's about 81, 82 years old. And he was talking about political campaign and so on. And he said there was this gentleman, I can't remember whether it's Jefferson, whatever, but in 1897 was asked, what does it take to run an effective political campaign? Jefferson, I think his name was, if I'm not correct, but I can be corrected. He said there are two things you need to run an effective political campaign. Number one is money, and number two, he could not remember what number two was. In other words, it takes money. And we should realize that mass has power. So if we want to stop what is going on in Somalia right now, it is time for us to make up our minds to become an independent country.
You can win with the Caribbean lottery. You can win, making a difference, changing lives. Take a chance, and you can win with the Caribbean lottery. You can win, you can win.
The Phillipsburg Methodist Church proudly presents the Harmonics in Concert under the theme Praising in Harmony. This exciting concert takes place on Saturday, November 3rd at 7:30 p.m. at the Princess Port de Plaisance Pavilion. Guest artists that will be sharing the stage are Don Froston, Angie Ponteflet, Cecil Griffith, Karen Cadogan, Raymond Benjamin, Benjamin Bell, and Shaba, along with the Djembe Group. Come out, support, and be blessed by the Harmonics in Concert on Saturday, November 3rd. Proceeds of the concert will go towards the upgrading of the audio-video system of the Phillipsburg Methodist Church.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
1, 2.
Tell them, connecting you.
And from the Department of Culture, in my presentation of responses to the members of Parliament, I repeatedly mentioned the dire straits that the Phillipsburg Jubilee Library is in. I'm calling for an urgent meeting with the board of the library, and we expect to have that meeting very soon. The staff of the library, they have demonstrated their resilience and unwavering commitment to providing our nation with this very valuable service. I've asked for that meeting, and I expect that it will take place very soon. And especially after the heavy rains last Saturday, we all realize that something needs to be done about our library. And it needs to be done fast. It has been over a year now since the hurricanes hit, and it is time for us to start fixing the library as we continue to overcome together. In my capacity as acting Prime Minister, I had the privilege yesterday of meeting the VNG International, simply called VNG, which is the acronym for Association of Dutch Municipalities. The VNG offers support, training, and services not only to cities and municipalities in the Netherlands, but internationally as well. After several discussions with especially the Ministries of General Affairs, VSA and VROMI, a project plan was developed to assist the government of St. Maarten in preparing especially government organizations for crisis and disaster management. Together with the government of St. Maarten, the VNG will work on a revision of the current disaster management structure through training and exercises, and they will work on improving the access to information as it relates to disaster management purposes. Furthermore, specific attention will be given to the psychological preparedness of the people involved in emergency services. Another aspect of the VNG will be assisting with is the defining and implementation of a sustainable and disaster-proof building code. The burgemeester, or the mayor of the city of Utrecht, whose wife is from St. Maarten, is the current chair of the VNG International, and he's currently on an official visit to the Bes Islands and the Caribbean countries in the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Mayor Jan van Zanen told me that he's very pleased to see the resiliency of the people of St. Maarten and how fast we are building back. Mayor van Zanen is joined on this trip by Pieter Jeroense, Deputy General Director of the VNG International, and by Maarten Beks, Senior Policy Officer to the Caribbean Islands.
Hey ma, how you doing? You busy?
I hear, just paying some bills, taking care of business, you know what it is?
I know, you're doing your online banking.
I don't have to stand in those long lines to pay bills. I can transfer when I want. I can check my account wherever. It's like the bank open 24/7. I even here checking the statement right now as we're talking. How's Miami?
Well, that's why I'm calling. I'm finishing up a few songs now, but I'm afraid that studio time might be more than I thought. And I was wondering if I could get some help with some funds, and I could pay you back as soon as I get back to St. Maarten.
Let me check my account. How much you need?
I think 500 should be enough.
I can transfer it to you while online. Direct from me to you. No problem.
Great. Thank you so much, Ma. I'll get online with Viv now.
Alright, darling. You know who you're for?
I need to know who you're for.
Contact Wib today for your complete personal online banking experience. Available for all mobile devices. The Windward Islands Bank, now your online banking partner in progress.
It's been said that behind every door, possibility awaits. How much possibility depends on which door you open first. Every day, we help our customers discover the possibilities in their lives. It all starts with a conversation. Scotiabank. Discover what's possible.
The second topic I'd like to touch on is I attended another conference. This is the 12th Annual Conference on National Health Care Financing in Suriname. I was invited as a keynote speaker, and actually the first conference I attended, I think, was about 2 years ago in Bonaire. And it is a focus, this is all of the different Caribbean islands talking about how they are financing their healthcare system. So the challenges that St. Martin faces are the same challenges that our Caribbean brothers and sisters are facing. And I must say that many of the ideas, many of the discussions there were very relevant to our plans for universal health insurance in St. Martin. So I, for one, have learned an awful lot from the conference. As a matter of fact, many of the relationships that we built there, we've invited them to some of our seminars and to some of our work sessions here in St. Martin, and their input's been tremendous and very helpful. So I was invited as a keynote speaker, and I had an opportunity to explain. Actually, the legislation for universal health insurance is actually going through the higher councils now. I think it's come through the SARE, it's coming back to government, and it's soon on its way to Council of Advice. So we are making the rounds with our final version. And so it was an opportunity actually to present to all of the Caribbean countries what we're planning to do in St. Martin. And I think we've have a plan that's very innovative. I think we've tried to take into account all of the comments and concerns of stakeholders. And so it was a great opportunity to present what we are doing in St. Martin and get an opportunity for feedback, which I must say has been very, very positive. So just for the community to understand, why is it that we're focusing on universal health insurance? Besides the fact that it's a United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, meaning that this is a worldwide goal that everyone has recognized as being important. And I'm going to take the time to read the definition of universal health coverage. All people and communities can use the promotive, preventive, curative, rehabilitative, and palliative health services they need of sufficient quality to be effective, while also ensuring that the use of the services does not expose the user to financial hardship. So translated, what does that mean? It means that we believe that everybody in the community should have access to health care. And right now, there's many people in our communities that do not have access to health care. We have a very fragmented system, and unfortunately, there's people who fall between the gaps and they have challenges getting access to health care. And I don't believe that that's correct. I think it's access to health care is a human right. And then we need to look at our whole healthcare system, and that's part of our healthcare reform, is how do we make sure, number one, sure, we give access to healthcare, but what is the quality of that healthcare? We need to make sure that the quality is good, and we need to make sure that it's affordable. So we need to look at our system, and how do we look at where the leakages, where's the waste in our system? How do we eliminate that so that more money can be spent directly on healthcare? So some of the topics for discussion, for example, was very interesting to see what other countries have done with their pharmaceutical costs. Some of them have saved almost half of their pharmaceutical costs. Diabetic care programs. Again, some of our country's neighbors have implemented great programs in the community. Education's a big part of that. How do we educate families, children, so they develop good behavior from the beginning? So again, I'm all for it. If somebody has a program that works somewhere else, we do not need to reinvent the wheel. I'm more than happy to borrow it from somebody else and implement it here, and that's exactly what we're working on. Prevention was a big topic. Do we invest in prevention? The problem with prevention is that when you make your investments, the return on it isn't necessarily very transparent, right? So if we invest money in the community and we keep our population healthy, that doesn't show up on a balance sheet somewhere else. So how do we make sure that we recognize the value of it while everybody sees it? Getting the budget allocations towards prevention is a challenge. Very interesting, I thought it was more of a St. Martin phenomenon, but actually many of the countries reported that compliance is an issue. And I'm not talking about financial compliance. What I'm talking about is we have many people in our community, for example, who have diabetes or high blood pressure. It's been properly diagnosed. They've been given medications, but yet the people are not taking the medications as they're supposed to. I hear it too often in the community that people, for example, with high blood pressure, they only take their blood pressure medicine when they feel like their pressure's too high. And this is a common theme that's happening throughout the world, and in particular the Caribbean, and that's something that, again, is impacting the health and quality of life of our people, but also impacts the costs, the budgets for our healthcare system. Another very interesting common theme is health in all policies. I think I've touched on this. You know, we need to look in the same line as prevention. We do, for example, have a helmet and seatbelt law. People are obligated by law to wear helmets if you're riding motorcycles or scooters. They are obligated to wear seatbelts. I see too many cars driving around. There's a small toddler inside bouncing around the front seat, back seat, front seat, back seat. You know, that's a risk. And in the end, you know, those are all things that we need to really address as a community. One of my more common complaints is about, you know, people call and say, oh, we have septic water running in our streets. It's bad for our health. You know, but yet we need to look at, and the ministry is working with the Ministry of Romy, how do we develop policies to make sure that the problems don't come in the first place? Because again, just like healthcare, prevention is cheaper than cure, right? So solving the problems after the fact is very different than solving it ahead of time. So health in all policies is definitely something that the ministry is going to be looking at. The hospital, of course, is the cornerstone of reforming for our healthcare system. I would touch on that briefly. You know, I think it's in the papers, it's been in the papers already. You know, we started with the strengthening of the roof of the SMMC. So while we're moving ahead with the construction of the new general hospital, we hope to have the building permit very soon, Minister. And as soon as we have the building permit in place, we're ready to finalize the financing agreement and break ground and start construction of our new general hospital. But we need to reinforce the current hospital, and that's part of the grant money from the trust fund via the World Bank.